Here's a number you've never thought about: 4 feet, 8.5 inches. That's the exact gap between train rails in most of the world. Not a round number, not metric. And there's a popular story online about where it came from, one involving Roman chariots. That story is mostly wrong. The real one is stranger. The viral version goes like this. Roman chariots wore ruts into old roads, spaced a certain distance apart based on the width of 2 horses. Later roads and carts matched those ruts to avoid getting stuck. Eventually, railway engineers copied that same spacing when designing train tracks. So, the story goes, modern trains are secretly sized around Roman horses 2,000 years ago. It's a fantastic story. Historians mostly reject it. There's no solid evidence tracing a continuous line from Roman roads to British railways. The real explanation is far less dramatic, but honestly more interesting. In the early 1800s, in the coal mining regions of northern England, horse-drawn carts already ran on wooden and iron rails inside mines at various gauges close to that same width, mainly because it matched a comfortable spacing for a cart pulled by a single horse walking between the rails. An engineer named George Stephenson worked in that exact region, building some of the very first steam railways. When he built the Stockton and Darlington Railway in 1825, he simply used the gauge that was already common in local mining tramways, around 4 feet 8 inches, and added half an inch for extra clearance. Not because it was mathematically optimal, because it was already sitting there in use, and switching to something else meant redesigning wagons that already worked. Stephenson became enormously influential. He and his engineering firm built railways across Britain and then were hired to consult on early railways abroad. Wherever his teams worked, that same gauge came with them. It wasn't chosen because it was the best possible width for a train. It just happened to be the width one very successful engineer was already using. Not every country adopted it, though. Some picked wider gauges, believing they'd offer more stability or capacity. Russia famously chose a broader gauge, reportedly for military reasons, making it harder for an invading army to simply use captured Russian trains. Spain and Portugal also chose broader gauges of their own. This created a real, lasting problem. Trains literally couldn't cross certain borders without stopping to switch wheels or transferring cargo entirely between 2 incompatible systems. Australia's colonial history is the most extreme case. Different British colonies independently built different gauges, so early Australian trains sometimes had to stop completely at state borders, forcing passengers and freight to physically change trains just to continue their journey decades after Federation. So the true story isn't about ancient chariots. It's about one 19th century engineer's working habits becoming a global default simply because he happened to be first and good at his job, while a handful of countries that guessed differently are still dealing with the consequences generations later. So next time you hear the Roman chariot story, you can politely correct it. The real answer says even more about how standards actually spread. If you like this, subscribe. I post one story like this every week.